our high schools into community centers, which they should always be.
Thank you, Matt.
As Matt just indicated, we really have a very good health care system in the District of Columbia. The problem is that many people do not take advantage of it. And one of the things we have to do a better job at is indicating to the public that these services are available, and they are available for free. The Affordable Health Care Act will bring about some changes and for the good. For instance, you can now go and have health care without any qualms or any complaints. You can actually practice preventive health care, and that's very good. What we have to do is to get people to the services, and we have to make sure that when they come for the services that there will be no language barriers and that we will be a hospitable environment.
I need a quick question. How could we get people to the clinics, especially Hispanics?
Well, I don't know the neighborhoods well enough to say, but back in the day, I had an opportunity to do some work in Columbia Heights through Georgetown University. And one of the things that we did was actually just to go into different meetings, into the churches, and talk to people about different types of services that they could find in the community. And that worked to some degree. But I think you have to advertise that you have the services, and a lot of it takes the formation of like a street campaign.
Thank you. Does anybody want to add to that question? And this is a raise of a hand type thing. How would you get Hispanics?
Sure. Well, as a State Board of Education member representing Ward 1, this was something that I encountered, in that there was a lot of people who work in the district government that don't understand how large the Latino population is. So one of my obsessions, whether it's in working sessions with the State Board of Education, meetings with the OSSI, public meetings, I've said this numerous times on TV, is to make sure that we have proper translation. So often the marketing is done for, and you can even say this about more disadvantaged parts of the city, a lot of times the marketing is just online. And as we all know, not everyone has access to the internet. But at the same time, we also, as we are able to distribute paper, we need to make sure that it's translated into not only Spanish, but languages of other immigrants.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, the only time I'll use a big I is when it comes to investing. And so the key is to hire Latinos to do the outreach. No one's, I can't imagine, an African American being more passionate about bringing Latinos to a healthy state than a Latino would be. The same way as I can't imagine a Latino would be more passionate, although it's possible. But I would hire more Latinos to do outreach. The city has the capacity. We just had a $417 million surplus. And why wouldn't we invest a portion of it toward outreach and hiring part-time outreach personnel in all quadrants of the city?
Thank you, Mr. Ray. And I'll let Fruitman answer that question also.
Thank you very much. We're about to come on a huge juncture for healthcare when the Affordable Health Care Act comes into place. And there will be all kinds of outreach around healthcare to encourage people to go and get insurance through the mechanisms that will exist, the health exchanges. One of the things that we need to do when we do that is also have outreach to people who may not qualify. And that can be done in newspapers around the city. It can be part of the city's obligation to be saying, okay, you citizens, you qualify for this, you should pursue it in this way and that way, and have people who can help them. But if you don't qualify, you should also know that there are these resources out there for you, these community health care clinics and other resources. And so we need to let people know about that while it's hot on the griddle.
Thank you, Mr. Fruitman. And at this time, I would like to do an audience questionnaire. Anybody from the audience? Well, I'd like to start off, Gabby.
Yes, well, I wanted to say that, one, we'll review the rules. We were going to take questions from the audience, and you may direct the question to specific candidates. Each candidate will be allowed to answer that question, the following question, should be to a different candidate, you will have 1 minute to answer. But we also have partnered with Metro Diversity, who has helped us sponsor this event. And we would like to give them the opportunity to ask the first question.
Let's see, how do we...
I got a pretty loud voice.
I
really got a pretty loud voice.
Because we wanted to put it there for people sponsoring afterwards.
Thanks for the plug, MetroDiversity.com. I actually thank you, Pedro and Gabriela. Thank you, Franklin. Thank you, DC Latino Caucus, everybody that showed up. I'm actually going to beg your indulgence. I really did talk about this, and if I may, I'm going to change the rule just a little bit. I really have only 2 questions, but they have 2 parts. And I'm going to do this for 2 reasons. First of all, I've been following them now since the beginning. I've been to 4 or 5 of these things. They do a very good job of this going down the line and saying what they think. But I'm more interested in how they deliver after they're elected and how they vote. And my topic is a topic, and I thank you again, all of you, for allowing me this topic. But my topic is a very serious topic. After immigration is the most important topic in the city, and that's affordable housing. I'm going to do this because I know how to put them on the spot, and I'm going to do this because I live in a building in Adams Morgan where 112 units of affordable rent-controlled housing has been destroyed. As I mentioned in one of my articles, affordable housing in this city is disappearing faster than the ice in Greenland. So, please indulge me for a moment. I will manage it with them. Thank you all for being here. I'm surprised Michael Brown isn't here since he's raised a lot of money from our community. He should have been here. But thank you for being indulgent with me when I do this. I'm going to do this as quickly as possible. I'm not trying to posture here. But I want to get at stuff that isn't BS. No offense. I mean, I understand how these things work. But I want to put you all on the spot about not what you stand for. Everybody says they're for affordable housing, but I want to put you on the spot in a way that you have to answer how you would vote and how you would act if you were elected, okay? So my questions go like this, okay? The first 2 questions are just raise your hand. You will all have a chance to include them in your comments, but the first 2 are simply raise your hand. One of them I already know because the cat has been out of the bag, but I'm going to phrase it like this. If you do not believe that there should be a standalone housing committee on the city council, the housing programs in District of Columbia are in a dozen different agencies. They overlap, they don't do their job properly, as many other things, and there's no committee on the city council, hasn't been for over a decade, that just dedicates itself to overseeing housing. None. There was a workforce training that Michael was the chair on, and there was economic development and housing, which housing's been dropped. It's only economic development, so there is no. Now, for those of you who do not believe there should be a standalone housing committee, raise your hand. That do not. So you all agree that there should be a standalone housing committee. The second one is not so related, but for me it is, and I know this is one, in particular I'm interested in how Pat's going to answer this. There's an act before the city now called the LRAA. It is the Living Wage Act. It says that they want to establish in the district a minimum wage of $11.75. Those of you who are not in favor of now there's caveats, I understand you and explain it when you speak, but I'd like to see who, if anybody, raises their hand if you are not in favor of the LRAA legislation and not in favor of raising the minimum a wage to $11.75 an hour.
Can I explain?
You can, but first you have to raise your hand or not.
So if I'm not for it, I get to explain. Because I might not be completely opposed.
But so you should raise your hand then.
Jose, I would like to be the moderator of this question.
Okay, so excuse me, Pedro, just let me finish. I won't take more than another 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Okay, so wait a minute, that's the first 2.
But I don't get to explain that, right?
Wait a minute, that's the first 2. Now let me finish the last 2, okay?
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
There are two things that people should know. It's very serious. I'm going through this. The city council passed a law somewhere around 6 saying that a person that rents in the District of Columbia can get their rent raised once a year. CPI, it should be COLA, but it's CPI, which is higher, plus 2%, which each year gets compounded. It's not really 2%, it's 2% the first year and like that. And the second part of this, even if that's not enough for landlords, they also have in the law, which is very unique to the city, in the code, in the housing code, saying they are guaranteed a 12% return on their equity. That's in the law. And on top of that, they have 4 petitions. The voluntary agreement petition, the capital improvement petition, the substantial rehab petition, and the hardship petition. All of those petitions are used to raise people's rents. Now, my question, and I'd like to direct it first to Patrick, because I know Patrick has a problem, has to have a problem with this. Are you in favor, that was a temporary 2%, by the way, it's not permanent. Are you in favor of the +2, and are you in favor of eliminating the 4 petitions? That's the question.
So that's a very complicated question, and that's why we need a standalone housing committee. I think that, you know, from neighborhood to neighborhood this varies. There's a lot of, I think this is why we need a standalone housing committee.
So you're not answering it, because you didn't answer.
I favor rent control.
You favor the 2%.